The case of Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, remains one of Nigeria's most contentious human rights issues. Despite a landmark United Nations order in 2022 calling for his release, Kanu remains in detention. Today on EDM News, we delve into the legal, political, and international dimensions of this issue and examine the latest appeal from his counsel, Aloy Ejimakor, urging President Bola Tinubu to act where his predecessor failed. The context. Who is Nnamdi Kanu? Nnamdi Kanu is a figure who polarizes opinions across Nigeria. To some, he is a freedom fighter advocating for the self-determination of Biafrans. To others, he represents a threat to national unity. As the leader of IPOB, Kanu has consistently called for the secession of the southeastern region of Nigeria to form an independent state of Biafra. In June 2021, Kanu was controversially arrested in Kenya and forcibly returned to Nigeria, a process his supporters and legal team describe as an illegal rendition. Since then, he has been held in the custody of Nigeria's Department of State Services, DSS, the UN Human Rights Council order. In July 2022, the United Nations Human Rights Council Working Group on Arbitrary Detention issued a clear directive to Nigeria's government. It called for Kanu's immediate release and condemned his rendition from Kenya as a violation of international law. Furthermore, the UN body demanded that Kanu be compensated for his arrest and the violations he suffered during his transfer to Nigeria. The UN Working Group emphasized that Nigeria, as a signatory to numerous international treaties, is legally bound to uphold such orders. Despite this, the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari dismissed the UN's directive, citing national security concerns. The lawyers appeal to President Tinubu. Aloy Ejimakor, Kanu's special counsel, has now called on President Bola Tinubu to take a different approach. In a recent statement, Ejimakor urged Tinubu to demonstrate respect for international law by complying with the UN's order to release Kanu. Ejimakor argued that Tinubu has a unique opportunity to distinguish his administration from that of his predecessor. It is never too late to act, Ejimakor stated, highlighting the moral and legal imperative to release Kanu. The lawyer further emphasized that Nigeria's status as a member of the international community obliges it to adhere to the rulings of the UN Human Rights Council. Ignoring such directives undermines the country's credibility on the global stage and weakens its commitment to international treaties. The legal justifications. Kanu's continued detention raises significant legal questions. In Nigeria, courts have repeatedly ruled in favor of Kanu's release. For example, in 2022, the Court of Appeal in Abuja discharged Kanu of all charges. However, the government has continued to hold him under what it claims are national security considerations. Ejimakor counters this stance by arguing that there is no legal justification for Kanu's detention. The president does not need any additional court order to release him, Ejimakor said, pointing out that the existing rulings and the UN's directive provide ample legal grounds for Kanu's release. The political dimension. For President Tinubu, this issue goes beyond legalities. It is also a test of his administration's political will. Tinubu's government has pledged to uphold the rule of law and restore public trust in governance. Freeing Kanu, in compliance with international directives, could signal a commitment to these principles. However, there are significant political risks. Releasing Kanu might embolden secessionist movements across Nigeria, potentially threatening the country's fragile unity. At the same time, continuing to detain him may exacerbate tensions in the southeast, where IPOB enjoys considerable support. International implications. The international community is closely watching how Nigeria handles the Nnamdi Kanu case. Ignoring the UN's directive could have broader diplomatic consequences, potentially straining Nigeria's relations with key international partners and organizations. Moreover, Kanu's case highlights the tension between national sovereignty and international human rights obligations. By adhering to the UN's directive, Nigeria could set a positive precedent for resolving such conflicts through legal and diplomatic means. The human cost. It's also essential to consider the human cost of this prolonged detention. Kanu has spent over 3 years in custody under conditions his legal team describes as inhumane. His health has reportedly deteriorated, further fueling calls for his release. This detention has also had broader social repercussions. It has deepened the sense of alienation among many in the Southeast, fueling resentment toward the federal government. Addressing Kanu's case could be a step toward rebuilding trust and fostering national reconciliation. Moving forward, President Tinubu faces a critical decision. By respecting the UN's directive and releasing Nnamdi Kanu, he could demonstrate Nigeria's commitment to international law and human rights. At the same time, he must navigate the political complexities of addressing the grievances that have fueled secessionist sentiments in the Southeast. The path forward requires careful balancing. While releasing Kanu may not resolve all the issues in the region, it could serve as a starting point for meaningful dialogue. On the other hand, ignoring the UN's order risks further isolating Nigeria on the international stage and intensifying domestic unrest. Final thoughts. The Nnamdi Kanu case encapsulates some of the most pressing challenges facing Nigeria today. The balance between national security and human rights, the tension between domestic law and international obligations, and the need for national unity in a diverse and often divided country. As we await President Tinubu's response, one thing is clear. This decision will have far-reaching consequences for Nigeria's legal system, its international reputation, and its efforts to build a more unified and equitable nation. What are your thoughts on this complex issue? Should Nigeria comply with the UN directive, or does national security take precedence? Share your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to EDM News for more insightful analysis of global and national issues. Thank you for watching.